that results in an illegality or fraud shall be personally liable. That was communicated to the Minister of Lands. The Minister of State is aware, so it has already taken effect. And like the Minister pointed out, as we speak, there are about 10 registrars and land officers were already affected. So for your comfort, that is already being dealt with.
What are the penalties?
Now, when you are personally liable, we have criminal action taken against you and civil. Under the Registration of Titles Act, the Titles Office can refer a file to the DPP and you'll be personally prosecuted. Then you can be taken on in civil court. Those are the penalties. Then additionally, the Minister talked about interdiction. That is in the interim. But once you are convicted, of course, you're terminated. Now, if found guilty in criminal court for fraud, forgery carries 7 to 10 years. Forgery, uttering false documents, fraud carry 7 to 10 years plus. Sentencing is at the discretion of the judicial officer. But I can assure you it is not less than 7 years. About Lake Victoria, it is true that there are titles. Yes, it is true. I'm aware because I investigated it. It is true that there are some illegal titles that were created on Lake Victoria. It is true that there are some illegal titles that were created on Lake Wamala. This came out during the Bamugemerire Commission. It is very unfortunate, but in the second phase of the digitization, Ministry of Lands is going to digitize the survey register. They started with the titles register. Now, until this happens, people are able to carry out desk surveys. Now, when you carry out a survey, you're supposed to go to the ground, plant the mark stones and everything. So you may wonder, how did they plant mark stones in water? Okay? It was possible at the time, but going forward, it will not be. So it is unfortunate that it is true, but that is going to be corrected. Disclaimer, I'm not a staff of Ministry of Lands. I'm a legal practitioner and a land consultant who interacts closely with the ministry. Then you talked about estates, succession. Recently we had the amendment to the Succession Act. Going forward, if you're dealing with a deceased estate, you need consent of the beneficiaries. Once X dies, expired, gone, you cannot continue dealing in your transactions when you're dead. Of course, you cannot. Now, your family is supposed to appoint a legal representative. That is an administrator to act on behalf of the estate. Now, the legal process is very long. I'm not going to go into the nitty-gritty, but it is a process. She talked about the office of the Administrator General. A family has a meeting, nominates somebody. Of course, you have died, there's a death certificate, a file is open to you. The Administrator General issues a letter of no objection. You petition court. Court gives the grant. Once the grant is given, appointing X as the administrator, X shall act on behalf of the estate. But remember, the estate has beneficiaries. So X does not become a god. You act in trust in the interests of the beneficiaries. That means they must consent. When I'm talking about due diligence, that is if you allow me the time, there are certain categories that I'm going to caution you about. Estate land is honestly complicated. You must carry out unique due diligence. You don't just go to the land office and get a search statement and say, oh, I did. It's not enough. We dig it up from the death certificate. Confirm, okay, this person died, the family sat, these are the beneficiaries, there's a file here, court gave the grant, we investigate that entire process. So now, to answer your question, you can no longer deal in estate issues without that consent. If you're buying a property, inquire. One, was there a death certificate? Did the process go up to court? Is there a grant? Have they filed an inventory in court? If they give you that grant, it doesn't become, you don't hang it in your sitting room. The grant is allowing you to manage